welcome everyone to an In Conversation With. My name is Emma Smith, and I'm absolutely delighted today to be joined by our speaker.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Emma. Thank you very much for inviting me to today In Conversation to empower communications. That is the word, is it? Conversation. Sorry.
Conversations. So that's okay.
I didn't see anything on the screen. Yes, and thank you for having me. So my name is Phuong. I'm the founder of the individual cognitive stimulation therapies, dementia training and consultancy. I'm dementia educator and a fellow of the Higher Education Academic and Research Fellow. At the moment, I'm the visiting dementia research fellow at University College London, Division of Psychiatry. And I got all my contact detail here. If anyone have a question or after today conversation, still can contact me. So that is me.
Wonderful. And there's just so much on there. That's why I handed it over to you. There's a huge amount that you do, Phuong. So Empowered Conversations. So I'm the project manager with Empowered Conversations, which is a project of Age UK Salford. So our plan for today is I'll give you a little bit of background about the work that we do. I'm going to hand over to Phuong for the presentation, and then we'll move into a Q&A. So you should be able to drop a question in that we can pick up at the end and make sure that there's an opportunity to ask that question and get an answer. So Empowered Conversations deliver communication courses for family caregivers across Greater Manchester. We also offer one-to-one dementia-focused therapeutic support for family caregivers, and every so often we do webinars a bit like this. Our work focuses on improving connections and relationships through building empathy and understanding about what can be achieved. So that's us in a nutshell. So thank you so much for joining us today. This is a new platform for us to be working on. So if it's a little bit bumpy, I'm going to take all the blame for that. It is a new platform and we're getting our head around it. But I'm going to hand over now to Phuong for your presentation, if that's okay.
Thank you very much, Emma. Yes. So today I'm going to share with you one of the new study which conducted by us at the University College London Division of Psychiatry. The title of this study is called the Predictive Model of Carer Resilience in Dementia Family Caregiving, and is using the structural equation model approach. So the aims of this study is to investigate the mediating effects of the quality of caregiving relationship and other carer and people with dementia variable in predict carer resilience over time. So here we call variable. You can hear a lot, during my presentation. That means the factor of psychosocial and cognitive factor of people with dementia and their carers. So why we conduct this study? So we look at the background, because most of people with dementia are living in a community and cared by their family carers. And caring for people with dementia can be very challenging for family carer. Many of them might experience stress and burden. So we're using the stress post-set model proposed by Perlin in 1990. And I highlighted a field of the primary stress and secondary stress. So the primary stress, we look at the cognitive status, functional dependency, that means daily activities, and neuropsychiatric symptoms of people with dementia, such as a behavior change. That is the primary stressor we look at. And then we also look at the secondary stressors, that means such as job and caring conflict, economic problems, social isolation, self-esteem, role change, which can affect the quality of the relationship. So that is, the first theory we look at, that we look at the straight process model of Perlin. And the second thing we look at, because recently research also highlighted there are positive adaptation can assist carer to flourish or thrive despite of the challenges of the providing care. For example, we can develop the special coping strategies to enhance the carer resilience or the psychosocial adjustment to the caring role. So, for example, the carer can adapt any positive psychosocial adjustment involved in activity or family support. So that is the thing is positively they are in dementia care as well. And if we also look at the other factor, but first of all, we look at what is the carer resilient. Emma, you can, when I present, you can ask me questions as well. You can stop me talking as well. So I don't need to talk, for half an hour. Is that okay?
That's absolutely brilliant. We talk about carer resilience a lot in our work. So yes, I'll pop a question in every so often.
Yes, okay, good. So there are so many different definitions of carer resilience. So we look at, we do some literature search, and then we, using this definition, said carer resilience is the dynamic process which allows carer to make positive adaptation and adjustment when they encounter crisis or adverse situation. So what is, the carer resilient will help, they will help to leading to or reduce the negative effect of the adverse situation. So people rather do something, adapt positive and adjustment to overcome the adverse situation rather sitting there for do nothing. This can involve many aspects of the psychosocial responses and involve in dynamic interaction with multiple protective and risk factors, which can change over time. So here I'm going to list it, some of the protective factor and risk factor. So for us to understand why we need to think all that aspect when we look at carer resilience. So the first thing, we look at the protective factors. What are they? So they can be a good physical health, mental health, or access to a social support. Positive interpersonal interaction, or mutual understanding caregiving relationship. And there are also some of the risk factors we look at, such as the cognitive and functioning decline in people with dementia, neuropsychiatric symptoms, as we mentioned earlier, such as behavior change, the role change, poor quality of the relationship and social isolation, or the carer loss of the self-esteem. And we also can see the protective factor can have impact on the risk factor. That means reduce the risk factor, but at the same time, it's a risk, so that you can see that it reduces the risk factor, so we have a better quality of the relationship. Or the risk factor also have a negative impact on the protective factor. So if we understand that, so when we have to deal with or encounter with the crisis situation, how are we going to adapt it and use it a positive way to to deal with or sort out the problem. So if you can see, the negative factor can also affect on the relationship as well. So apart from the positive and risk factor, we also look at one of the framework it called binding time. Have you heard about binding time here, a theory before?
No.
No. So that is, the study from Townsend to look at the closeness and the conflict of the care relationship. So from here, you can see we have the cognitive decline, functional decline, and carer well-being. In the middle here, we have a quality of care relationship. This is mediate the cognitive decline and functional decline, and the outcome of the quality of the relationship will impact on the carer well-being. From this diagram, we also can see a cognitive decline is impact directly to the carer well-being, and the functional decline, it also directly impacts on the carer well-being. Do you see a difference between cognitive decline and functional decline?
Yeah, definitely. And I wondered, does this apply to all adult caregivers, whether it's for a spouse or for a parent or a sister or a brother?
To do everyone, because the quality of relationship is very complex. It's not only the person who cares for it, it's the whole family. So that is, but here, for example, my mom have dementia, and her cognitive decline, functional decline, that means her daily activity decline, her memory is also decline. That will impact on my relationship with my mother. Yeah. And that relationship can directly impact on my well-being because I'm the carer. So for the quality of the relationship here, if I can maintain the good relationship with my mother, and then my well-being, it gets better.
100%.
Yeah.
Get it? Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you going to keep the quality of the care relationship here? And then you have to get support, re-evaluate or assess the situation of my mother, cognitive and daily activity need. So that is really as a pattern here. So I give that, for us to understand the importance of the quality of care relationship in the caregiving relationship. So the evidence so that the strengthen the caregiving relationship may protect the family carer and people with dementia from adverse outcome. So that is positive. So now we look at the methodology of this study. So this study, the data, we obtained the data from the ICSC trial. So for us, ICSC trial, we recruit 360 dyads, that means couple of people with dementia and their carer. That means including partners, husband and wife, and children, any person in the family care for the person with dementia who live in the community with mild or moderate dementia. However, for this study, we only use the data from the treatment as user group. That means they don't receive any intervention of ICST. And we're using, because, if we, that is, to ensure that the data we use is not being related to the intervention. So it mainly is, all this data here for people with dementia and their carer not involved in ICST intervention. And we're using person correlation. That means we look at the correlation between the study variable at 2 points, one at the baseline and 6-month follow-up. And we also use the structure equation modeling to test it, several hypotheses of the relationship between this variable over time as well. And this study is funded by the National Institute of Health Research. So we have several measures from the people with dementia. We look at the cognitive status, their depression level, quality of the dementia disease scale. We look at the neuropsychiatric symptom, and we look at the quality of the relationship between the carer and the person with dementia. For the carer, we look at the emotion distress, carer stress specific to neuropsychiatric symptom in dementia, and carer-related quality of life, and carer resilience, and the quality of the carer-patient relationship. So that gives you some idea what we look at. And now we come to the finding. This finding, first of all, we look at the correlation, that means the relationship of the factor, of the cognitive and psychosocial factor between people with dementia and the carer resilient over time. So at the baseline, the first finding, we found that higher rating of the caregiving relationship from the quality of life are correlated or associated with a greater carer resilience. Higher level of depression symptom was correlated with a lower carer resilience. We didn't find any significance between the cognitive level and neuropsychiatric symptom and the carer resilience. At 6 months follow-up assessment, so we're going to see whether any change over time about the correlation between the variable of people with dementia and carer resilience. And we found that higher rates of caregiving relationship and quality of life predict higher carer resilience. That means hasn't been changed. It still keeps that relationship. And same again to do with depression and carer resilience. It keeps the same. However, we found that higher neuropsychiatric symptoms predict lower level of carer resilience. So that means the person with dementia have a higher level of neuropsychiatric symptom, which can affect on the carer resilience. However, the cognitive level did not predict any changes in carer resilience. So that is mean cognitive status is out of our further investigated about the quality of the relationship. So now we look at the finding of the carer psychosocial factor and the carer resilience over time. At the baseline, carer experience lower level of emotional stress and higher level health-related quality of life were correlated with greater level of carer resilience. That means if they have lower emotion stress and good quality of life, and then their resilience is enhanced. There are no correlation between carer resilience, carer distress, specific to neuropsychiatric symptom, and the quality of relationship from the carer perspective. So there, here we got two quality of carer relationship, one from the carer perspective and the other from the person with dementia perspective. So carer perspective of quality of the relationship did not affect on the carer resilience. But at the 6-month follow-up, we still have a same result on lower level of carer emotion stress and higher rates of carer health-related quality of life. It still predict greater level of carer resilience. However, we found something new here. Carer experience low level of distress specific to neuropsychiatric symptom, and now you can see the quality of the relationship is go higher here after 6 months. This it predict higher level of resilience. So over time, the neuropsychiatric symptom and the quality of the carer relationship are also changed. So that is the first result. We need to look at the correlation between people with dementia and their carer through using the cognitive and psychosocial factors. So now we look at the structural model, equation model. So we're going to further to look at the mediator of the quality of the carer relationship. So we put here the people with dementia perceive the quality of caregiving relationship and carer perceive the quality of the relationship. And we're using the independentable, that means the person with dementia, behavior change and depression, and to see whether the quality of relationship here have an impact on the carer resilience. This model, it didn't work because it didn't form as a model, so that is out. So we not see any difference here. So we try again using only carer variable and the mediator that is based on the carer and the people with dementia perceive the quality of the relationship on carer well-being. This model is also a poor model. It doesn't make any significant difference. So this model is have to be this model and the previous model have to be combined together and take out, we call nested together and take out some of the irrelevant factor. Finally, we come to the final result. That means the person with dementia perceives the quality of the relationship, mediate the carer's distress specific to neuropsychiatric symptom, and then this mediator leading to the improve of the carer resilience. So the outcome, is simple to understand that people perspective and the quality of the caregiving relationship here mediate the relationship between the carer resilience, the carer's resilience and the carer distress neuropsychiatry symptom.
I feel like there's a lot of information there, Phuong.
Yeah, it's a lot, but ignore everything I said, Pavia, because that if I don't say that and then suddenly say why you suddenly come to this one here. So for to simply understand, that mean the person with dementia perceives the quality of caregiving relationship, mediate the relationship between the carer distress and the carer resilience. So, for example, if the carer distress increase an impact on the impact on the caregiving relationship perceived by the people with dementia, but however, because the relationship here very strong, so it doesn't affect the carer resilience. So it's let I explain it later when we come to the conclusion. So let's see, that is a model here. Okay, and we look at here. First of all, we look at the strengths of this study, because this study is to our knowledge, is the first study investigate the relationship between the carer resilience and the fluence of the specific of the people with dementia and carer over time. In other words, usually study only look at people with dementia or their carer on carer resilience, but this study we combine together and it called longitudinal study. That means over time. So not mean in one pot at the cross section research is over time. So that is the strength of this study, and it also highlighted the important role of the perspective of people with dementia on the relationship. The limitation of this study will not apply to people with advanced dementia who live in the long-term care, like residential home. The result not generalized across all the culture and ethnicity, because carer resilience is very crucial and vital in the different culture and ethnicity. But however, our sample is mainly people with 95% is white, and then we got 5% of people from different ethnicity. So that is the limitation of this study. And also the 6-month follow-up is maybe not long enough to see a more difference in the resilience and other factors. And we didn't capture all the physical and psychosocial physical or psychological and wider social change. So that is quite a narrow thing. We mainly look at the cognitive and psychosocial intervention, but it's not very broad. So now I'm come to conclusion, and then maybe we understand what is this study more related to everyday life. And then you can have because I need time for you to ask questions, because it's quite a lot of things to cover.
We're doing fine for time though, don't worry.
Okay. So the conclusion of this study, because the methodology is very, very complex, but it's very, very robust study. So I need to go very quick, but it can cause more complicated when I present. So the first thing we found it here: higher rate of perceived relationship quality by people with dementia predict higher carer resilience over time. Is that clear?
So from the perspective of the person with dementia, if they think they've got a good quality of relationship, then actually that's what they're experiencing, and that predicts higher carer resilience.
Yes. So I will go into here a little bit when the question time. I explain a little bit more about that, but you interpret very well, Emma. That is very good. Okay, so higher level of neuropsychiatric symptoms experienced by people with dementia predicted lower level of carer resilience over time. So how do you interpret that?
So I'd interpret that as there's a lot more challenges for the person with dementia, and that's going to impact on the carer's resilience.
Yeah, in neuropsychiatric symptoms. So I'm going to present time. I'm going to go to look into that as well. And the third one, the carer experience high emotion, stress, and distress specific to neuropsychiatric symptom, report lower level of carer resilience over time. So that means the carer have a high level of emotion distress. I would like to look at, going to ask me what is the difference between emotion distress and distress specific to neuropsychiatric symptom. There are two different things. If they report it, it's going to be low level of carer resilience over time. Yeah. So think about these two phrases. People with dementia perceive their quality of the relationship, mediate the relationship between the carer distress specific to neuropsychiatric symptom, not to emotion distress, but to the neuropsychiatric symptom. And then that is, the relationship there between the neuropsychiatric symptom and carer resilience. However, the quality of the relationship in the middle mediates the strength of the neuropsychiatric symptom from the people with dementia perspective. Yeah, all that you can ask me if not clear, but I would like you to ask me more than I said it. It's going to be more impact than I saying it. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's asking. Am I asking you now?
I think I finished this two more, and then you're going to ask me question, because I think I leave half an hour for you to ask questions. It's very important, because I'm saying it with lots of information. You might not catch all of them, but when you ask me question, and then I can explain it better that way. Yeah.
Okay.
So from that outcome, we see, or we suggest, intervention special designed to enhance the quality of the caregiving relationship from the perspective of the people with dementia, and lead to reduce the carer distress and improve carer well-being. So that is the answer earlier. If the mediator improve, maintain, and then the carer distress also reduce, and they improve the carer resilience. So here we just want to see that as a key factor when we do any intervention to improve the quality of the caregiving relationship from the perspective of people with dementia. And future research should aim forward to understand it from many aspects of the caregiving relationship, such as coping strategy, social support, which contribute to the positive chain of the carer resilience. So it's a lot, a phrase here, very long, but we focus on carer resilience here. And we also have the key factor here is the quality of relationship from the perspective of the people with dementia. So Emma, I think I have to leave for the question and answer section to have a more understanding this research. So you can throw any question to me, or anyone from the audience want to ask or didn't understand any of the writing, you can ask me now.
Brilliant. I'm just going to change our view so that you can see me.
Yes.
So if you have a question,
let's stop the sharing as well, so you can see me. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see me? And I can see you, and everyone can see us both.
Let's see. I need to. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
enough.
good.
Because I'm talking to myself, it's a little bit difficult.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, if you have any questions, then please drop them in the chat or in the Q&A, and I'll pick them up. Oh yeah, Claire, that's the correct place. Crack on. I can see your question, Claire. So yes, drop them in. You can do in chat or Q&A. I'll look in both. So pop your questions in. Right, I just need to make sure I'm on the right page with this. So when we talk about psychiatric symptoms, we're talking about the symptoms of the person with dementia. Is that right?
From the people, yeah.
So it's around the person with dementia.
And then you can see the carer distress of because from my research said specific to carer distress of neuropsychiatry symptom. So this neuropsychiatry symptom is nothing to do with the carer, but it's from the people with dementia, which affect on the carer. So there are two. Yeah. For the carer, we measure the emotional distress, and then we got distress related to neuropsychiatry symptom. So for the emotional stress, that means we measure on anxiety and depression, yeah. And neuropsychiatry symptom, we measure people with dementia, such as anxiety, depression, apathy, agitation, delusion, hallucination, sleeping or eating disturbance that we call the disease of the brain. So this neuropsychiatry symptom, it change the behavior of people with dementia. And this change, it impact on the carer, and we measure carer distress using this kind of scale. So from this study, from the baseline, the carer level of neuropsychiatrist, it didn't correlate it with carer resilience, but after 6 months, it did. So the correlationship there. That's why the changing over time then can affect on the carer well-being and resilience. So it's going to be both way. If the neuropsychiatric symptom it decline, and then the carer resilience it enhanced, gone up. If the neuropsychiatric symptom it gone up, and then carer resilience it gone down. So opposite sign. Okay, so that is we have to distinguish between emotional stress and distress related to neuropsychiatric symptom.
So very crudely, so the person with dementia, their symptoms will increase as their dementia progresses.
Yeah.
So their symptoms are increasing like this. And as their symptoms increase, the emotional distress felt by the caregiver, well, that will increase. So their resilience will go down. So you get a bit of a cross. So the symptoms for the person with dementia go up, and then we have a sort of a downward spiral for the caregiver around their resilience.
Yeah. But now I think this study will look at the relationship of the caregiving relationship quality of people with dementia. So that is a key point. So we measure they call a caregiving, carer and patient relationship. That is, measure whether the carer is less criticized to the person with dementia and get warmer. So that is the ICSC intervention. It indicates if the carer spending a mutual, a quality time, a meaningful activity with the person with dementia, the people with dementia perceive their quality of relationship it improve significantly, and they feel warmer and less criticized by a carer. So if you keep that good relationship, even the neuropsychiatric symptom from the people with dementia impact on this relationship. If you keep the relationship, it's stronger or maintain it, and it helps the carer to improve their resilience. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. So in my head, and we've got a question from Claire, and I just want to make sure. So in my head, what you're talking about is, so the intervention that you offer actually strengthens and builds that relationship. So the stronger that relationship, the better connection that the caregiver and the person with dementia has, and the increased resilience, even when the dementia symptoms become worse and the neuropsychiatric symptoms become worse, because you've really built on that relationship and that connection. It actually it doesn't stop it, but it sort of it helps with the carer's resilience. So even if things get worse, which they did after 6 months, the carer's resilience is still higher because they've had that better relationship, and that's from their perspective and from the person with dementia's perspective.
Yeah, so it's very, very, we have to make it very clear here. From this quality relationship, only from the people with dementia perspective. But it's very important. If, for example, my mom very happy with me and our relationship very strong, that is very important, because in research, we focus a lot on people with dementia. We look at their cognition, quality of life, things like that. But we forget the carer play an important role, very vital role in the caregiving relationship. And if I'm a carer, my mom happy, you think that is very, very positive outcome. Yeah. So this study helping us for future study, or in the community, you do any activity, is something we can do to build the relationship. And this relationship is from the person with dementia perspective. If my mom feel whatever I said, what I do is very warm, let's criticize her, value her, that is very important. That is, what I want to highlight is here. On its own, it didn't impact, but in the middle, that means if my mom, if me, because we only stick to this one, if my my distress due to my mom neuropsychiatric symptom, but because my mom have a very good relationship with me, my resilience is enhanced. Is that clear?
It is. So that enhanced resilience give you that coping even when things get harder for you and also for the person.
Exactly. Spot on.
Claire thinks I've answered the question already, but she says, my mum has dementia and thankfully minimal neuropsychiatry symptoms. She's generally very happy. My carer resilience is reduced already. So it does concern me if mum does develop marked neuropsychiatry symptoms. How best can we as carers help protect our resilience?
Yes. So that is very, very good. So that is going to another perspective. So when the person with dementia have the neuropsychiatric symptom, what is it called? It gets deteriorated. So we first understand neuropsychiatric symptom is a disease from the brain, but however, it will also been impacted by the environment. When we talk environment, we always think it's a building. No, environment is not only the sound of the building, it's the people. We are in there as well. So how we're going to connect with that person by through the empower conversation like you. So a lot of things you provide, for example, how the way we talk, the way we using a skill to technique to talk with people. For example, people with delusion. We need to connect with them, but not correct them. So that is a key thing. We have to learn how to value the person with dementia, because the feeling still with them, although they could not remember what we just said recently, but they are feeling with them. So if you value them and you give them a safe environment, that is very crucial. And also we're using a called scaffolding. So we work together. We're not like, oh, I am the carer, I know everything. You using a top-down approach. It's not. We have to use a bottom-up. And I like the word. We use a lot empowering, but I like shifting power. We have to shift our power. We have to see, sometimes we have to have the people with dementia have power.
Absolutely. We talk a lot in our course about,
Yeah.
you know, if so in your relationship, that's mum and your daughter. And quite often when we go into a caring role, we switch it.
Yeah.
And what we need to do is actually let mum be mum and we'll be the daughter. And maybe we need some support from mum about things.
Exactly.
So we give that power to them.
Yeah. So that is, you know, I hope it's answer someone question.
Claire's. It was Claire's question. If you have another question, please pop it in, and we'll just carry on chatting in the meantime. But please, pop it in the Q&A. We've got another 10 minutes if you want to ask anything else. But it would be really good to hear some more voices.
Yeah. So here I can see here, Claire said, you meant Jenna very happy, so that is good. But my carer resilient is with you because of concern about mum. Yeah, so that is a positive thinking here. So although mum is very happy, but now it's also the carer have using a different way to adapt it, positive way to adapt it to increase the resilience. Because, you know, earlier I have outcomes for so many different for example, the way you're thinking, the way I think what I call protective factor. So you have to thinking positively. Coping strategy is very important. I provide training, and not many people know what kind of coping strategy are there. So coping strategy is really another way to cope when we encounter something in situation.
And I suppose the other perspective of this is generally we're not just caring, are we? So caring is an element of what we do, but certainly for Claire, she's working as well. So she's working, she's caring, she's got her own relationship, and all of those factors all build into how we feel and what our resilience is. And
absolutely, yeah, it's just earlier I using the Perlin model that it can see so many factors that impact on the stressor. So for example, the difference between a spousal support and the children support. So like for older people, the couple support each other because they maybe the weakness that because their physical health is not as good as the younger children. But when younger children, then they have another thing to commit to it. For example, a family, they have to go to work, although it's physically better, but they have other commitment. So it's very complex. And then they got the family, they got society, and gradually you got work and you care for someone, and your social circle is shrinking. So it's impact on your resilience.
Absolutely. I was talking to a caregiver yesterday whose husband is now in a care home, and she described the experience that he's in a care home now, which means that for the last few years of their life they're going to have quality time together.
Yeah.
They're going to she's going to take him to the pub for a pint. They're going to have quality. She's not going to be involved in 24/7 care and feeling tired and helping him out. But that was a really interesting perspective from her, because she said as a spousal carer, you don't have anybody. If you're caring for a partner, you don't have other people to support you. So you don't have your partner to support you because you're caring for them. Whereas if you're a child supporting a parent, hopefully you have got a relationship around you that helps you in that role. So when we were talking about our course, she saw it as it was very good that she had other spousal carers on there, because it's very different to if you're caring for a parent, because you are in effect on your own. You're having to pick up things that you wouldn't normally have to do because your partner would do them. So she thought it's very different.
Mm-hmm. Any more questions from you as well, Emma?
I suppose I always like to ask the question of what's next. Where are you going with? Obviously, you've got this research, and it really backs up that work around relationships for the person with dementia and also the family caregiver. I'm thinking about what are the next steps? What's happening next?
Yes. So this, next step, I want to see more intervention. Is working on the caregiving relationship. So I've been searching. I couldn't see anything very obvious to improve the quality of the caregiving relationship at the moment in dementia. I think that is an area we need to look at, because all the care giving or the caregiving is broken down because the relationship is broke down. People will be sent to the nursing home because the relationship broke down, and also other factors, like health and mental health, that it's a lot, and finance. But the relationship is so important. So my passion is examine more intervention which can relate it to improve the quality of the relationship.
Yeah, and I would just say on that one, Phuong. So we talk about improving the communication and the connection, which then improves the relationships, which actually builds carer resilience. So we sort of go, we always talk about improving connections and relationships. So I'm just saying we're here. So we've got two projects that you could come and have a look at. One is the communication course. If we can communicate effectively, it gives us the opportunity to build and enhance relationships. And what we see is when communication breaks down, it then impacts on relationships, which they then break down. But the one-to-one stuff that we do as well, the dementia specific therapeutic support, that's really working around sort of the caregivers' stress levels and coping mechanisms. So if we can improve them, then that again improves relationships and connections. Claire has said, thank you. I've done courses with Empowered, which really do help me, and they continue to provide great support for me, mum, and my family. With my mum, we do have very positive days, but some are quite challenging. So building on this caregiving relationship is very important to us.
Yes, it's very important. And yes, it's because the relationship is not only a communication. It's a lot thing, understanding coping strategies. It's also can have a great impact on the relationship. So I think, for example, people attend my training ICST, they're very worried about, a carer is overloaded with work, they haven't got time. But we have to do the interventions like ICSC, work together, enjoy the activity, no extra task. Is really work together, and they feel like they are in the same level. We're not there to have like a teacher to teach them. It's, we work at the same level, that we can shifting power as well.
Nice. It sounds like it sounds like we have a lot of synergy in how we work. So we certainly are not the experts, but yeah, I think we'll probably be continuing our conversation after this webinar at some point, just to see if there's anything that we can chat about. I'm just going to launch a little survey now, just to get a bit of feedback from people. She says, oh, wait a minute. Okay, there we go. So just before everyone starts running off, we'll just get a little bit of feedback. It's been absolutely fantastic to find out more about this research, Phuong. So thank you so much for that. I'll put us on this screen so we don't just have to look at those numbers going.
Yeah, but if anyone want to, because it's 1 hours and it's very quite a complex study, but a very robust study, and it was on the UCL News. I believe your embassy that, and it have a very good response from the research as well. So it's anyone need to know a little bit more in detail, please email me or can telephone me if you have any question, because it's quite a lot measure there. Don't know what is that, but I try to squeeze everything in, but hopefully we have a final conclusion.
Brilliant. Apparently, if I turn this off the screen, then people can't put feedback in. So I've had to put it back on.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
You just put some background music on while you were doing the same. Oh, it stopped. That's amazing. Well, I'm just going to thank you so much for your time today, Phuong. It's been really, really interesting to find out more about the research and more about what you do as well. So the research, it really is just the part of what you do, like the main part of what you do you've not really talked about. So thank you so much for taking the time. And maybe you need to come back on and tell us more about the intervention, which will be really helpful at some point. If you like this webinar, we've got more webinars to come. We've got In Conversation with Better Conversations next week, so I can send out details about that. But thank you everyone for joining today. Look, we've had lots of thank yous from everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a lovely Wednesday afternoon, and I'm going to say goodbye to you all now.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all.